Hello, Algebra 1. This is Mr. West. I miss you guys already. I know we're out on the break, or it's not really a break, but we're out of school. And I hope everybody's safe and healthy. Could be. But anyway, that being said, let's just jump right in. We left off looking at graphing quadratics in the vertex form A. But let's just look at it again real quick so that we know what's going on. Sometimes in this vertex form, we have a number out here in front of this x minus h quantity squared. And if it is positive, the graph opens up. We've discussed this. And if this a out here, for example, if that was a negative a out there, then the graph would open down. We've also remind ourselves about our vertex. Our vertex is at hk, right? The minus sign in front of it. But when h is negative, it changes this minus sign to a positive. In other words, if we have x minus a positive h, okay, then we just get this form, x minus that h. But if h is negative, we would have x minus a negative h. And when we have x minus a negative, that results in a positive. Remember how sometimes in class I'll go and I'll take this minus a negative, make a big positive out of it like that. So this guy, x minus a negative h, is when we end up having a form where it says x plus h. Okay. In other words, that's a long-winded way of saying, look, if this is a minus sign right here, our x value, our x coordinate of our vertex is going to be positive. And if there's a positive sign in here, our x coordinate of our vertex is going to be negative. That's what all this rigmarole out here is. So getting back on point here, our vertex is at the values h, k. We can simply look right here. There's our h. And including the sign, here's our k. A little bit better. Let's find the vertex of the following equations. And if you were confused a minute ago on all of that stuff I was saying up there, maybe this will clear it up. This is going to be our x coordinate of our vertex and our y coordinates of our vertex. These are points. So our vertex is going to be positive 18 and positive 9. Because remember, our x is the opposite of whatever sign sits right there. How about down here? I notice right off the bat we have an a out here, but the a, remember, doesn't affect the vertex. So our vertex is going to be at a negative 6, positive, negative 7, negative 6, negative 7, because we changed this sign. On number 3, x minus 2 is going to result in a positive 2 for our x value and a negative 2 for our y value. That's how we find our vertex, our xy coordinate of our vertex. Find the vertex of each of the following quadratics and determine whether the graph opens up, or you can't see it right, but it says up or down. Up or down. Let's do that. We can do this. Well, we're going to first look just at our h and our k. H and k. So right here our h is a x minus 1, so we're going to have a positive 1 for our vertex. There's no a out here, so the sign in front of this parentheses would be positive. So our graph is going to open up because a is positive. What do you mean a is positive? There's no a out here. Well, remember, we can put a 1 in front of anything. Doesn't change the value. And if we put a 1 out here, it would certainly be positive. So it's going to open up. Now let's look at our next one. Let's first find our vertex. Take the opposite sign for our x, negative 4 and positive 1. And our graph is going to open what? We have an a now and it's negative. That's going to make our graph open down. Our graph is going to open down because a is negative. Let me give you a second to look at that before we move forward. Of course, you can pause the video, take a screenshot of it, or whatever you want to do if that would help you. Step 1, find the vertex. We got to find a point that we start from on the graph, and that's always our vertex. Number 2, we use our vertex as the center for our table. So we're going to make a table like this. Possible x values and the resulting y. Put them in the center. Here's the center of our table. Here's the center. So let's go ahead and put our h and k in the middle of our table. Our h is a positive 2 because we're making this xy coordinate. We always take the opposite sign of this. But our resulting y is negative 2. Negative 2. Okay, negative 2. So this would be a point 2, negative 2. That's our vertex. Now we're going to fill in some x values to the right and some x values to the left and see what our resulting y values are. So to the right, I'm going to put a 3. I'm going to put a 4. To the left, I'm going to count down 1 and 0. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take these x values and plug them in here for x and see what this thing is equal to. See what this is equal to. Let's first test our x and y for our vertex. If I make x equal to positive 2, that will give me a positive 2 minus 2. Positive 2 minus 2 is 0. 0 squared is simply 0. And 0 minus 2 results in the negative 2. So it works for our vertex. Let's see what happens with 1. 1 minus 2 would be negative 1. Negative 1 squared would be negative 1 times negative 1. That's positive 1. And positive 1 minus 2 ends up being what? Positive 1 minus 2. Use your calculator if you have to. Positive 1 minus 2 would be negative 1. Minus 2 is negative 1. Oops, Siri, I don't need you right now. 4. 4 minus 2 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. And 4 minus 2 is a positive 2. So now we have our table. We have our table. Now we would plot our points and connect them from left to right. Vertex. We're missing the vertex. We're missing it. It's going to go right in the middle. Our vertex is going to be this h and this k is what drives it. We take the opposite of this side, so our vertex is going to be at positive 1. Let's put a positive 1 in here. And negative 2. Negative 2. Let's put our negative 2 down here. And let's go over here on the graph and plot that. Positive 1, negative 2. So that's going to be about right there. Positive 1, negative 2. That's our vertex. That's our vertex. So what point do we get at 0? If x equals 0, 0 minus 1 is negative 1. Negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. And positive 1 minus 2 would be negative 1. Let's go ahead and calculate. Let's calculate this point over here so we can see how it's symmetrical. Let's put a 2 in and see what our y value is. 2 minus 1 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1 again. And 1 minus 2 is negative 1. See how that works? Let's plot these 2 points. 0, negative 1 would be right here. And 2, negative 1 would be right here. Okay, so we're making progress. Now let's insert a negative 1. Negative 1 minus 1 would be negative 2. Negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. And 4 minus 2 is 2. Okay. And maybe I'll show you the 3. Maybe I'll put a 3 minus 1 squared, right? Squared. It's going to be hard to do this. Squared minus 2. That's where I'm substituting the 3 in for x. See it? 3 minus 1 is 2 squared minus 2. 2 times 2 is 4 minus 2 equals 2. So right here we have a 2. I took the 3, substituted it in for the x, and just worked it out. Okay. I'm showing you the work just for this one so you can see kind of what happens there. Clean that up a little. Now let's plot these other points here. Let's plot these other points. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Oops. That's maybe a little too big. plot it with this guy. So we've got these, we've got this guy, we've got this guy, we've got this guy. So we've got these middle. Let's go to -1, 2. -1, 2 would be here. And 3, 2. 3, 2 would be here. And notice how this is symmetrical. I'm going to try and draw it here. Let me see if I can draw it with the green line. Let's see, it would look something like this, okay? Something like this and something like this. And there we have it. See how it is symmetrical on both sides? I'm going to go ahead and draw I'm going to try and draw the axis of symmetry here. The axis of symmetry would be right here at x equals 1. At x equals 1. And see how it's a mirror image on both sides. It's a mirror image on both sides. Okay. Graphing in vertex form. That's what that's all about. Now you know how to do it. Go ahead and try example number 2, example, and then on the next page, see if you can work through example 3, example 4, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the graphs and final answers of those in the form of a document on the blog for you to look at. Then I'll have a practice sheet on there that you can try, and if you run into any problems, just give me an email or send me a message through the Remind. Good luck, guys.